UFC Fight Night Garcia versus Onama just wrapped up, and today I'm going to be giving my reactions and recaps to all of the fights on the card. I'm going to switch up the order of it this time. I'm going to be starting with the main event this time around, and Steve Garcia versus David Onama. We'll slide down right to it. Steve Garcia, round one knockout with about 30 seconds, or about actually a minute and a half left to go in round one. He was really the only one who threw much of anything in this fight period. He looked a lot. He looked very patient. He looked very measured. He was landing the jab with the left hook behind it, and he kept hitting Onama around the guard. And it wasn't hitting him clean up until the finish, but it was landing. It was knocking him back. It was landing with quite a bit of effect. You can see my face cam is actually covering it, I'm sure, but Onama had 2 strikes the entire fight to Steve Garcia's 43. So that tells you the difference in the volume for both these guys. David Onama came out there looking really patient. I don't know what his game plan was because Steve Garcia is always the type of guy who's going to take it to you. He even mentioned it in the post-fight interview, talking about how he's kind of confused by David Onama's approach because anytime he goes out there, he's going to be hunting you. So it was a bit of a bizarre game plan from David Onama. But yeah, Steve Garcia gets it done. This one always seemed like it was going to be a Steve Garcia win for me. I think Onama's been shown adversity by a lot of fighters that aren't anywhere near the level of Steve Garcia, and yeah, that was shown tonight. And yeah, Steve Garcia, the stoppage, it was maybe a smidge early, but frankly, Onama looked like he was shelling up, ready to quit, and he had been hurt, wobble all around the octagon prior to that, so there was no doubt that he was out of that fight and that it was over with, and Steve Garcia gets it done. Next for Steve Garcia, of course, I'm not going to be matchmaking every fight from an Apex card like this, but I'm thinking someone like Arnold Allen, who hasn't been in the cage at all in over a year, I believe it is. So Arnold Allen, he needs to get back in there pretty soon, and yeah, I believe Arnold Allen's coming off that win over Giga Chikadze. I want to say that was his last fight, which wasn't the most impressive showing. Giga Chikadze, I think it was a 2-1 decision, or 29-28, however you want to say it. I think it was a 29-28 decision win for Arnold Allen, so not the most impressive win of his career. So I think he's going to be looking down the rankings again for his next fight. And Steve Garcia, of course, no doubt he'll be looking up. And he'll be looking for a big jump up too. I think he's more deserving of a top contender than he is to fight a guy like Josh Emmett or even Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega is sitting at like 9 in the rankings, and Steve Garcia is at 12. So yeah, Steve Garcia deserves a pretty big jump up after this main event round 1 KO. Gets it done pretty easily over David Onama. We'll go ahead and move on to this fight. Oop, if we can get it pulled up here. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ante Delija. Waldo Cortez Acosta gets it done in round 1 by KO after Ante Delija seemingly gets it done by round 1 KO as well. What a weird fight this was. A lot of controversy, especially after the week we had last week with the Tom Aspinall eye poke situation. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he got, it wasn't as bad of an eye poke. I'll preface it by saying that. But he got caught by Ante Delija. He was parrying Ante's hand, and he got caught with a pinky in, I believe, his left eye. It looked to me like it was his left eye. But, yeah, he got caught with a pinky in the eye. Ante Delija, he curled up immediately and covered his eye. And it was weird. I was like, what did he get hit with? Is he quitting? What's going on? And Ante Delija, he followed up, was just swarming him against the cage, landed some shots. Mark Smith steps in, but he doesn't wave the fight off. At least that's what the commentary team was saying. It looked to me like he did wave his hands, but regardless, the call was that he did not wave the fight off. And they reviewed it. They saw that there was an eye poke, so they took some time, let Waldo Cortez Acosta recover, and yeah, they come back out there. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he is on him fast, and I think he knows that that's the right decision because that's such a huge adrenaline dump from Ante Delija. I mean, we saw at that UFC Vancouver card a few weeks ago. You know, Kyle Nelson, he should have got that round 1 finish, but Dan Miragliotta, he botched that, and then he came out in round 2 really flat, and he arguably lost that round. So Cortez Acosta, I think he knew to take advantage of that adrenaline dump. And Ante Delija threw a jab. Cortez Acosta threw an overhand right over the top of it. Caught Delija on the chin, put him down. A couple follow-up shots later, he was out. And yeah, really, really odd situation. I feel for Ante Delija a little bit, but I also don't too much. I mean, you know, he eye poked him. He eye poked him, and he frankly got punished for it. I know he had a bit of an adrenaline dump, so there's kind of an excuse there, but still, weird situation all around. Waldo Cortez Acosta gets the round 1 KO. And yeah, that's about all there is to that one. Moving on, Jeremiah Wells versus Themba Gorimbo. Now, this fight sucked. This fight sucked. That's really all I had to say about it. This looked like a really low-level fight. Jeremiah Wells, he got this one done, no doubt about it. But his IQ that he showed, especially late in the fight, was very puzzling. He was going for a lot of submissions when just he was giving up dominant position to go for submissions, and he was giving up the chance to land big ground and pound shots. He didn't throw much of any ground and pound shots until about 30 seconds was left in that fight. And that's when he actually started to hurt Garimbo really bad. Like, if there was maybe a minute left instead of when he started throwing 30 seconds, I think he could have got a TKO finish in that fight. But he waited until the very end of the fight to start throwing ground and pound. I don't know what was up with that. Even in round two, he had dominant position at the end of the round, and he could have just teed off on Garimbo. He had his back, I believe. But instead, he like jumps for an armbar, and he ends up on bottom position to end the round. Just really poor decision making. Not much controversy I think here. This is a very clear win for Jeremiah Wells. Wow, my apologies. He won round 2 and 3 very clearly, in my opinion. In round 1, though, Garimba came out. He came out sharp, and he came out really fast. And I think that might have played into why he kind of wore down as this fight went on. He gassed out a bit. But yeah, Thembo came out hot. He was on the pressure early. He got Jeremiah Wells down. There were quite a bit of scrambles early in this fight, and Themba Garimbo seemed to just end up on top in all of them. There was one time where Jeremiah Wells had a body lock, and he was starting to throw Themba down, and Themba kind of flipped his hips and ended up on top. It was a pretty impressive scramble. So he looked good in round 1. He was dominating the wrestling. He had all the control time. He was landing some big ground and pound shots. And it was a clear round 1 for Garimbo. But round 2, Jeremiah Wells, he had a few submissions attempts. He had a guillotine at one point. He had a couple triangle attempts towards the later half of the round. And he had dominant position for most of that round. He out-controlled him for that round. My only gripe is that he didn't really land any shots of damage, but still had more control time. Had a few submissions attempts. The arm triangle, that looked a little bit dangerous at one point. I thought the fight was close to being stopped. I thought Themba was going to tap at one point, but he got through it. But still, clear Jeremiah Wells round. And then round 3, that's where I had the big problems with the fight IQ. Is just so many opportunities to land ground and pound shots, and you could see that Themba was fading fast, and he probably could have got him out of there by finish. Had a big moment in that fight, got a performance bonus as well, I'm sure, if he would have got a finish. But he didn't. He was kind of chasing submissions that weren't there. And yeah, fight ends up going to a decision, but he still gets the win. And yeah, not a very high-level fight, though. I wasn't very impressed with that. Now, this one, I may make a whole video in the coming days about this one, because talk about controversy. This fight is loaded with controversy. So if you don't follow the betting market, I guess, which I don't much, I'm not much of a gambler. I'll put $5-10 on a parlay every weekend in the UFC. I didn't even have one. It's mostly just for big fight nights or pay-per-view cards. I don't really bet a whole lot on the UFC, but I do follow what people are saying about the UFC on Twitter very closely. And a lot of people who were following the betting market were saying that Isaac Bulgarian, he was like a minus 260 favorite not long before the fight. And then about 30 minutes before the fight, there's a drastic swing in the odds. Isaac Bulgarian, sorry. He ended up, that line dropped to like minus 140. So huge drop. Also, the line for Yadier Duvall to get a round 1 finish dropped significantly. It went from like plus 850 to like plus 400 or something, which is a crazy swing. So a lot of movements like right before the fight. And there was, I think, some rumor that Isaac Bulgarian had hurt his hand backstage or something like that, maybe broke his hand. And there was a point in round 1 where he shot for a takedown. He had his hands wrapped around the hips of Yadier Duvall, but he just couldn't really complete the takedown. So maybe he did have a broken hand. I'm just confused where this money was coming from, because something shady is happening. I mean, it's someone had to have known something was up with Isaac Bulgarian, because not that much money is coming in on Yadier Duvall to get a round 1 finish on some random Apex card 30 minutes before a fight. That just doesn't happen normally. So I wonder if there's any like insider betting going on. I wonder if Bulgarian's team maybe knew that he was hurt right before the fight, and they were instructed to put a bunch of money on it. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. And I know this is kind of fresh on every sports fan's mind right now because of the NBA scandal with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups and whatnot. So weird situation. I'm sure there's going to be an investigation into it, and I have a bunch of tweets bookmarked, so I might make a video about it. It's a really interesting situation, but not trying to take any credit away from Yadier Duvall. Still a great performance. Yeah, he slipped on a kick in round 1, and Bulgarian immediately shot for the takedown. But Duvall, he was able to sprawl. He was able to get out of it, end up on top position, and eventually he transitioned to the back, got the rear naked choke in, and Bulgarian, he survived the first attempt, but the second attempt, when that got under the chin, it was over. Bulgarian had to tap. And Delval, impressive round one finish for him. That's a very, very good performance. So we know that he's legit. Even if Bulgarian was hurt, to be able to out grapple him like that, that's still a very impressive feat. So big win for Delval, and I'm sure there's big matchups ahead for him. Moving on, Charles Radke versus Daniel Frunze. This was a different Radke than we're used to seeing in this fight. We haven't really seen him implement the grappling like he did in this one. All 3 rounds, he was just working Daniel Frunze on the ground, controlling him, getting to the back, getting the body triangle, and wailing on him with big shots, landing ground and pound. Unlike Jeremiah Wells was doing, Charles Radke was doing a lot of that. So big win from him. It showed a new element to his game that we haven't seen before. Daniel Frunze, he is not UFC level. All due respect to the guy, but that was a terrible performance. He did nothing to get up, especially in round 2. I mean, he laid there, accepted position on bottom, just kept Charles Radke in full guard and didn't do anything to get up. He kept like the lock around Charles Radke's back, so he couldn't really get anywhere. It was weird. He just made no effort to get up, and I will give it to him, though. He is tough after round 1, or during round 1. He survived a really, really deep rear naked choke. One of the deepest rear naked choke attempts I've seen that didn't get someone to tap. It was or go out. It was pretty impressive for that Frunze was able to get out of that, but didn't in round 3, though. 30 seconds left. Charles Radke got back to that same position, and I'm sure Frunze, knowing that there's no time left for him to get that win back at that point, he tapped to it this time around. But yeah, round 1 showed a lot of toughness, but still just did nothing at all to get up from bottom position. Didn't work, didn't do anything, just accepted being on bottom. He was throwing a lot of blind shots behind his head, trying to just hit Charles Radke like that, which isn't going to work. I mean, you might be able to connect once or twice, but they're not going to land with any effect. And you're going to be missing half of them too, because you can't see where the guy is. So just really, really bizarre ground game from Daniel Frunze. And Charles Radke exploited that. He did well. He completely out-grappled him, shut him down, and got the finish in round 3. And I'm sure if you're wondering, no, he did not say it after the fight. He did not get on the mic and say it again. So none of that this time around. No funny business. Moving on to the main card opener, Alan Nascimento versus Cody Durden. Now, I was liking my Cody Durden pick after round 1, because Cody Durden was putting that pressure on him. He was out-voluming him. He was landing some solid strikes. He clearly won round 1. Yeah, he was up. He was doing more damage. He was on the pressure. Alan Nascimento wasn't getting the grappling going, which I thought was a bit bizarre. And then in round 2, Alan Nascimento, I missed a little bit of round 2 because I had some Wi-Fi problems at that point. But Nascimento, I did see where he dropped him with a nasty, nasty elbow as Cody Durden was kind of blitzing in on him. Nascimento just snuck an elbow in there, cracked him right on the chin with it, sat him down, and then he went and latched up the anaconda choke and got the round 2 finish by submission. Impressive win for Alan Nascimento. Cody Durden's a tough guy. He's a tough guy, and he's not very high level. I'm kind of giving up on any hope of that, but he's not very high level, but he is a tough guy, and he's got a good wrestling background. So to be able to go out there and sub him is pretty impressive. So good win for Alan Nascimento. I want to say that's 5 wins in a row now. So yeah, definitely looking towards a guy probably in the top 10 at this point. So yeah, good win for Alan Nascimento. Moving on to the next fight on the card, Billy Elikana versus Kevin Christian. Elikana, round 1 finished by submission. He dropped Kevin Christian bad. There isn't a lot to say about this fight. Yeah, he just dropped him really bad, really hurt him. I'm sure if he followed up with some shots after that, he would have got a TKO finish, but yeah, put him down bad. Kevin Christian kind of rolled over to his belly. Elikana hopped on his back, got the rear naked choke, and Christian kind of had his hand pinned. It was a weird one because I don't think he could tap. He kind of had his hand pinned under Elikana's leg, so he just ended up going out cold. Thankfully, the ref didn't take too long to step in, but yeah, huge win from Billy Elikana. Knocks him down, subs him out cold. Kevin Christian, I think my breakdown was pretty accurate. That not that impressive of a fighter. Yeah, that's really all there is. There isn't much to talk about. This one was an early finish for Billy Elikana. Impressive win for him, and I'm glad to see him go out there and put it on someone and get some get some action. Really try and go for a finish there. It wasn't like the Ibo Aslan fight where he was just kind of having a sparring match. So good win, good finish for Billy Elikana. And yeah, it's 2 fights in a row for him. He's a solid light heavyweight. Moving on, Timmy Kwamba versus Chang Ho Lee. Now, this is another fight where I was thinking I did good on my prediction after round 1 of this fight. Chang Ho Lee, he got in on a takedown early. He was able to get to the back and just keep that position for pretty much the whole entire round. He was threatening some rear naked chokes from the back, landing some shots around the guard. It was kind of like Hamzat Chimaev versus Kamaru Usman round one, minus the close submission attempts. He never really was close to getting any submissions, but he was on his back for the entire round and just dominated him with control in that round. But in round two, Timmy Kwamba started to find some shots. I was worried because, fighting on the back foot against a pressure wrestler like Chang Ho Lee, I was worried he wasn't going to be able to find those shots before Lee was able to get to the hips. But he did. He was landing some really nice step-in elbows. He was also timing some knees really well. I think a couple of them caught Chang Ho Lee coming in, but I'd say most of them landed on the chest. But they were still enough to stop Chang Ho Lee where he was and give Timmy Kwamba a chance to get away. But yeah, the elbows, the knees, they were really nasty in this fight. He was beating up on Chang Ho Lee in round two. I believe he even got a takedown of his own. But yeah, he was clearly ahead in round two. A lot of visible damage on Chang Ho Lee's face as well. Very strong round for Timmy Kwamba. And then in round three, a little bit of the same stuff. He continued it. Chang Ho Lee was still trying to get those takedowns, but I think a lot of the gas in the tank was gone by that point. And Kwamba was just piecing him up. He's just piecing him up. And yeah, he was able to also, I think Kwamba was able to get dominant position later on in this round and just kind of ride out a decision win here. Chang Ho Lee was too tired to really do anything at that point, and Kwamba just kind of controlled him with dominant position towards the back half of round three. And he was able to coast to a decision win from that point on. Big win for Timmy Kwamba. And I said it in the breakdown. His record, his UFC record is worse than the fighter he is. He's better than a 1-2 fighter in the UFC, and I think he showed that tonight. So back-to-back really impressive performances here. Showed some really slick striking in both of those fights, and yeah, Timmy Kwamba, good win for him. Moving on down the card, Dante Johnson versus Cedric Dumas. Cedric Dumas is a dumbass. I don't. If you watch the fight, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the spinning elbows over and over. He threw like 3 of them in a row in round one. Just spin, spin, spin. It was so bizarre. He looked like shit out there. He looked lost in every aspect. He got a takedown early, which was good for him. And I'm starting to think, oh shit, maybe Dante Johnson is just, he just beats up on fat guys, and now he's encountering someone that isn't, morbidly obese, and he's going to face a little bit of trouble here. But he was able to get out of that position from getting taken down early. Johnson was able to get like a slam takedown of his own. He picked Dumas up, slammed it down. He landed some big shots in that round as the fight went on. I think he dropped Dumas. It was kind of weird. He caught him with a big shot, and Dumas kind of sunk down and went for a takedown, but kind of curled up on his knees. So I kind of count that as a knockdown. I'll check the stats here. They didn't count it as a knockdown, which I think's fine. It's debatable on if it's a knockdown. But he did hurt Dumas bad at the end of round one. So clear round one win for Dante Johnson. And then round two, gets a takedown early and works his way, and he gets an anaconda choke over Cedric Dumas. Makes him tap about a minute into round two. And yeah, big win for Dante Johnson, his debut. Cedric Dumas looked terrible. I'm happy to see him lose because he puts his hand on women, so to hell with that guy. And good win for Dante Johnson. Moving on to Ketlin Vieira versus Norma Jamont. Now, this was a very close fight. I believe it went to a split decision. Yeah, it did. Ketlin Vieira had the control time. Norma Jamont had more volume on the feet. She landed more strikes in every round of this fight. Vieira had about 5 minutes of control time across the 3 rounds, but she didn't really do much of it with it. It's kind of a Volkov-Almeida situation where, she had control time, but she didn't do much with it. And Norma Jamont was able to just land more on the feet. She was able to land more strikes, and she got the split decision here. I'm fine with it. I think it's a good precedent. It follows the actual rule books of MMA too. I think control time is you only go to it when it comes to scoring criteria if it's even on the feet. So, Norma Jamont was outstriking her on the feet. Ketlin Vieira wasn't doing much of any damage from when she had top position. So, yeah, I'm fine with Norma Jamont getting this decision win, and it keeps the division moving too. So, that's something else to be happy about. Yeah, big win for Norma Jamont here. But I do not think she's top level. I know they were talking about in this fight that potentially she could be fighting the winner of Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, whoever wins that title fight, which I assume will be sometime next year on one of the Paramount cards. But I don't think she's ready for that level yet. She'll probably get that title shot for whoever the winner of that fight is, but I think she'll get steamrolled by either one of those two. But that's for another day. Moving on to the third third fight on the card. Elise Ardeline versus Montserrat Ruiz. Alice Ardeline gets this one done. It was a pretty clear decision here. Ruiz was looking all right early in the fight. Early into round one, she was kind of throwing pretty wild. She was throwing a lot of big overhands and stuff, and she was connecting on some of them. But as the fight went on, Alice Ardeline started to find her range, started to figure out her timing. She just started kind of pulling out of the way out of range of Ruiz and just kind of landed some slick counter shots. She really busted up Ruiz's face in round two, and just as the fight went on, just momentum kept building for her. She dominantly won this fight on the feet. You can see the strike numbers. She was a lot more accurate. She landed half of her strikes to Ruiz's 30%. So, it just, Ruiz had she wasn't in any danger of getting knocked out. Ardeline was, but Ruiz was landing some decent shots early. But once Ardeline figured out her range and started figuring out the timing on those counter shots, it was just all downhill from there for Ruiz. And she picks up a clear 30-27 decision. Plus Ruiz is really short, so it's tough for her. It's tough for her. And her head movement's also very poor. She didn't really move her head off the center line much of all in this fight, which has made it really easy for Ardeline. She was able to land those counter shots quite easily. So, just kind of the same story across 3 rounds. Just one-way traffic for Ardeline. Moving on to a fight that should have been much higher up the card. Seok Hyun Ko gets a very impressive win over Phil Rowe in this fight. You can see this total strike. Well, you can't see the total strike numbers, but I can. Or maybe you can. I edit my face cam onto the video afterwards. But total strikes. Phil Rowe had 11 to Seok Hyun Ko's 124. This was pure dominance, and it makes me feel better about Alban Elliott as a prospect. I don't think he's as much of a fraud, I guess, as what his last fight might have indicated, because Seok Hyun Ko is very good. He's like a welterweight Marab. I mean, the dude is relentless. He is so good at maintaining top position. He doesn't get risky and open himself up to letting his opponent get up by chasing submissions or getting a little too wild with the ground and pound shots. He just lands big elbows, lands big punches and stuff, but floats in dominant position. He focuses on control rather than going into positions where he could get a submission. And I don't think he has any submissions in his pro career. I might be wrong. Maybe he has one, but I know they mentioned it in the broadcast that he is not known for his submissions. He barely has any in his pro career. And it's because he doesn't really go for them. He prioritizes getting to those positions of control where he's able to ride on top and just hammer away at guys and just beat down on them and just demoralize them. And you could see that as the fight goes on. Phil Rowe he was demoralized and he was withered by round 3. I mean, it was just a relentless beating. Round 1, Seok Hyun Ko, he landed a left hand, and as Phil Rowe was kind of he dropped his hands down to his side to shake it off, Seok Hyun Ko immediately shot on the hips, took him down, and just dominated the round from there. And then in round 2, you can see how much Phil Rowe was worried about the takedown from that point. Seok Hyun Ko, he threw a big overhand left, and Rowe kind of dropped his hands. Rowe got caught by it, and he got kind of stumbled. And then Seok Hyun Ko took him down, beat him up there for round 2. Round 3, same thing. Seok Hyun Ko gets him down, beats the shit out of him in round 3. Phil Rowe, I believe he did manage to reverse and get back on top for the end of round 3. Let's see if he had any control time. It doesn't show it on here. But I believe that Phil Rowe was able to end the fight on top, but by that point the fight was already gone. Seok Hyun Ko had already got it done. Phil Rowe, he was trying a lot of those submission attempts off bottom, trying to throw up some legs to try and go for arm bars or triangles. And man, against a really elite wrestler like Seok Hyun Ko it's just not going to work. These guys know how to not dive themselves headfirst into submissions. So dominant win from Seok Hyun Ko. I would like to see him get a guy maybe just outside the top 15. I think he's deserving of a fight of that caliber, maybe like a Jake Matthews or something, and then he can be looking towards a fight in the top 15. But this guy's really good. This guy is very good, and he's going to be problems for a lot of guys at welterweight. Moving on to the final fight we will break down tonight. Talita Alenkar, she gets this one done over Ariana Carnelossi. I missed round 1 of this fight because I was asleep. I'll be very candid about that, but it doesn't matter because the scorecards don't matter. Alenkar got the round 3 finish. Very end of the fight, there was 20 seconds left. She was able to get a finish. Carnelossi in round 2, she was looking good. She was pressuring her. She had Alenkar on the back foot. She was landing some good shots. She was out-voluming her. And then Alenkar, she landed a big overhand right and really stunned Carnelossi. And then she wrapped around the back of the head, landed a big knee afterwards, and that really hurt Carnelossi. She was able to get on top of Alenkar and just control her the rest of the round. And she had a really deep submission attempt late in that round as well that nearly got her out of there. There was like 5 seconds left when I think it was like locked up, and it was a full rear naked choke under the chin. If there was 5 more seconds, she would have gone out cold or had to have tapped. So Alencar, a little bit of hairy moments in the early part of round 2, but she turns it around. And then in round 3, same story. Alencar, she's landed some good shots. She landed some nice leg kicks that round as well. And then she timed like a perfectly timed takedown on Carnelossi. She was able to get her down. One thing that Carnelossi did that really frustrated me watching this fight, because I picked her, she spent like a minute and a half maybe trying to go for like a toe hold from bottom position. What are you doing? You got to go win this round. You got to go win this round because you clearly lost round 2. You got to go win this round or maybe even get a finish. I couldn't tell you. Here, we'll look right now. Round 1 is pretty much even. Looks like Alencar had 2 takedowns, and she also had 2 more strikes in the round. So at that point in the fight, Carnelossi probably had to get a finish. You're not going to get a toe hold from bottom. That was bizarre. That was really strange fight IQ from her. And eventually she's the one who gets submitted herself later into round 3. And yeah, that's really all there was to that fight. Good performance from Alencar. She gets this one done by late submission. And that's all I have for you for this card, UFC Fight Night, Garcia versus Onama. If you watched to this point, thank you so much for tuning in. A like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you guys in the next video.